Hi guys, in this video we're going to show you how to soundproof this room. We're going to convert this garage into a soundproof studio. Because we don't have that much space available, we're not going to install a floating frame on this one. A floating frame would normally take 175mm off of the wall, 200mm off of the ceiling and 75mm off of the floor. Now, as you can see, there's not much space available, so what we're going to install is a 95mm system. This is a system that's going to have 95mm space loss off of the walls and say 200mm off of the ceiling. And we're going to show you how to treat the floor too. Now, if any of you've got a room like this, a garage or a room in your house like this, I would say get a pen and paper. It's going to be a long video. You might want to bookmark this video, subscribe to the channel, like, and try and use the chat as more of like a community where we can ask questions, because this is going to be really useful if you have a room like this and you want to soundproof a room in your house. We're in a 3-story terraced townhouse and we're soundproofing this garage, which is on the ground floor. It's a concrete construction, so that means 50% of the noise is flanking noise. Okay, so let's get stuck into how we go about soundproofing this garage. The first thing we're going to do is remove all those hollow voids, and here we've uncovered a metal ceiling frame which needs to be removed. We've also found a 4-inch waste pipe which we know is going to have to be sound deadened, and we have an RSJ which is transmitting noise across the structure. If this is the neighbour's wall here, we need to sound deaden that RSJ like we do in a lot of my videos. The first bit of sound insulation we're going to install is we're going to sound deaden the walls. Because we're dealing with acoustic drums, then that noise from the drums reaches a certain volume, certain decibel we should say, it enters the structure of the building and those walls begin to resonate like a ringing drum cymbal. And how do you sound deaden a ringing drum cymbal? You put your hand on it, and what we're doing with this viscoelastic membrane is we are sound deadening the structure. And the same as what we're going to do to this 4-inch waste pipe, we're going to coat it with this viscoelastic membrane which is self-adhesive, and we've put some masking tape around it so it doesn't come off when we box it in. We sound deaden the pipe because we don't want to hear toilet gushing noises coming down the pipe when we're recording, because what is going to be here is a vocal booth. Because it's only a single garage, and for you guys in the US and Canada, this is the size of a single garage in the UK. Not very big, right? But we only have 100mm space to play with. We're going to be installing this 95mm thick system. And the next layer after we've sound deadened the walls is these battens, which we install on anti-vibrational pads. Once we've put all the battens in place, we can then fix new ceiling joists in place, and that's fixed to the wall, isolating the new ceiling joists from the ceiling that we've just sound deadened. Remember, this is a concrete block and beam structure and we want that isolation. The ceiling is the direct noise path. There's a lot of noise going through the ceiling, which is why we decoupled the ceiling and we've put these joists in place, giving us 150mm insulation between those joists. Just to give you your bearings, this is the utility door which leads to a stairwell going to the rest of the house. This is the garage door at the top here, and here we're building the vocal booth with the drum room at the back there. We're going to have a door going into the drum room there and a door going into the vocal booth there. So in essence, we're going to have 3 doors before the outside. We should be able to stand outside this garage door and not hear the drums once we've done all this soundproofing. At this stage, first fix electrical is done, and we've also installed the ventilation pipes. If you're creating a soundproof room, you do need to consider ventilation, and you want air coming in and air coming out. And what we do is we install a basic extractor system, so you have air extracting out of the room, and then we have an air brick or air vent which allows that fresh air to come in, which reduces the vacuum effect. Over here we have the vent which will lead to the extractor, and then we have the air vent here letting fresh air in. The next layer we install is the mass loaded vinyl, and here it is a 5 kg per meter squared mass loaded vinyl. And this product, if you just install this to the wall alone, it won't give you much noise reduction at all. You'll be lucky to get 1 decibel out of this. But when you install it with other products, like here we install it after the
rock wall, the RW3 rock wall, we just seem to find that you get a noticeable reduction in noise when you install this product after the rock wall. So that's something you'll see from a lot of my videos. It's a combination that we've been using for nearly 15 years now, and it's a one that we will continue to use, but it's got to be a 5 kg. Don't try and upgrade this with a 10 kg because you'll find that you might channel the noise into other areas. So it's got to be that 5 kg per meter squared mass loaded vinyl. The next layer we install is resilient bars, and we fix them over the top of the mass loaded vinyl, fixing them to the batten. So you can see the lines on the barrier mat. Hopefully you guys can see that. That shows where the upright battens are, and we're fixing the resilient bars with a wood screw to those battens. Now, resilient bars are the most cost-effective way to get a good reduction in noise, especially on those lower frequencies. They're readily available from most builders merchants nowadays, and they're only 15 to 17 mil space loss when you install them to the battens in this way. Now, to the ceiling, we're installing something slightly different. We're installing a clip and channel system, and here we're using a mute clip. Now, mute clip is very similar to what you guys might have in the US and Canada, which is a genie clip. We prefer to use the mute clip only because the rubber is a bit more resilient there than the genie clip. I'm not sure if you guys have these available in the US. They work pretty much the same. You just have a clip that you fix to the ceiling and the channel which fixes to the clip, and these do outperform the resilient bar. Now, we have the space available to the ceiling to install a clip and channel system, whereas we don't have that space available to the walls. Also, the ceiling being the direct noise path, we want a bit more sound insulation installed to the ceiling, which is why we're using a clip and channel system to the ceiling. A lot of garages don't have the height required to install enough sound insulation to reduce the noise of acoustic drums. A lot of garages have flat roofs, and you can't just install some clip or channel system or resilient bar to the joist underneath a flat roof. Otherwise, you'll get massive condensation issues. There are different roofing systems, which I'm not going to go into in this video, but what I am going to show you is a space-saving clip and channel system, which you could install in between the rafters if you don't have much space available. Hopefully you can see that. Imagine this being the rafter or joist, the ceiling joist, and here we have a bracket holding the genie clip for this example. And this is the resilient channel, and if you imagine, this is the underside of the roof. So this is your drum room here, and this is your ceiling, this is your resilient channel, and this is one of your layers that you're going to install. By installing that 15 mil soundblock board, creating an isolation, you can go past the joist. There's about 5 mil gap there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but what it's done is it's bypassed the joist. You've installed this to the channel, and it's not touching the joist. And that is a way, instead of having the clip and channel to the underside of the rafter. So hopefully you can see that, yeah? So you can see the difference there compared to there. Putting it between the joists in this way compared to that will at least save you 40 to 50 mil space. So that's just something that you could do if you don't have much space available to the ceiling. Now, when you get to this stage of the resilient bars, what you want to do is install as much mass as you can afford, budget and space available. There are many different combinations of layers which you can install. I'll just show you a few now. You could use just 2 layers of 15 mil soundblock boards. So if you've got your channel, you've installed those 2 layers, making sure they're staggered. You could maybe upgrade that by installing a mass loaded vinyl. Install maybe a 10 kg per meter squared mass loaded vinyl or a 5 kg mass loaded vinyl between the 2 layers of 15 mil soundblock board. A popular system here in the UK is 2 layers of 15 mil soundblock board with a Texsound, a 10 kg per meter squared Texsound in between the two. What we like to install, and what we're going to install to this drum room studio, is a cement board followed by a 10 kg per meter squared mass loaded vinyl, followed by a fibre board, followed by a 15 mil soundblock board. Now that first layer, that cement board, is highly reflective, and it reflects the noise back into all of these layers. Then you have the 10 kg per meter squared mass loaded vinyl, which is really good for mass and does that barrier. And then you have that fiber board, which is even more denser than the 15mm soundblock board. Whatever combination of mass you decide to use at this stage, fixing it to the resilient bars, make sure it's airtight. This is where you want to go to town with that acoustic sealant, making sure everything is sealed up, all those wires, all that ducting, making sure it's completely airtight at this stage. So we're installing the same system to the vocal booth, and we are installing the 15mm soundblock board, getting it ready for plastering. Door frames are starting to go in and the room is beginning to take shape. The first door will have 3 acoustic seals, and the door entering the drum room will have 2 acoustic seals. And this is where I'm stood now, is I'm stood in the vocal booth. That is the door to the drum room, and that is the door to the garage storage area. We're starting to apply the same system to the other side of the vocal booth now. The garage storage area ceiling is a flanking area. We haven't sound deadened the block and beam there, but we have insulated this area and put a frame in place. We've done that because we don't want to channel the noise straight out through the door. If we didn't insulate that, the noise from the drums and vocal booth will channel straight out of this door. Remember, we want our client to be able to play the drums whenever they want without disturbing their neighbours, which are the other side of this wall and past there, and of course out in the courtyard out there. Oh, the wheelie bin is back. The ventilation comes out into this garage storage area. That vent will bring the air in, and that will have a baffle box over it. Okay, so let's plaster this room. Plaster, and we're onto the floating floor. Notice how the floating floor is going down now. I do a lot of consultations for these studios in many different countries, including US and Canada. And the one thing I find, which is a very common mistake a lot of builders and DIYers make, is they build the floor first. I'm not sure why, but when they do these garage renovations, they just want to build the floating floor first, like this, and then they want to build all the walls off of the floating floor. And this is a big mistake, because if you build the walls off of the floating floor, when you start playing those drums, the noise is just injected into the floor, and it's then injected into all of those upright studs and those stud frames which you've connected to your floating floor. So the correct way to do it is to build the floating floor after you've done the plastering. So the floating floor will be isolated from the walls all the way around. And here we've just we've sound deadened the floor, of course. We've got anti-vibrational pads and damp-proof membranes and whatnot. And then we've insulated with the rock wool, and then we put a structural ply over the top. The floor is isolated from the walls all the way around. So when you're playing drums in here, this is almost like a drum riser but built within the room. So the noise will find it very difficult to get into the walls and then transmit up the structure of the walls. You spent all that time trying to isolate and decouple the finished layers from the structure. If you would have built the walls on top of the floor, you would have just injected the noise into the walls. So this is one of the best ways to build a floating floor, in my opinion. Build it after the walls have been plastered. Okay, so fixtures and fittings starting to go in place, and we're painting and decorating. First acoustic door going in place. Our drummer decided to change the design a little bit. They wanted more space in the drum room, so the drum room door is going to open into the vocal booth now, and the vocal booth door will open inwards, and that creates more room in the garage storage area because you won't have this door swinging out this way. And it also creates more room in the drum room because this door will be swinging into the vocal booth. Okay, sound absorption to the ceiling is going in place, and we put the sound absorption in place so we can then fix all our electrical to it. The drum room studio door has been beefed up. Don't worry, it won't look like that after painting and decorating. You can see it's been beefed up both sides. What we've done is we've taken a heavy duty door and then we've beefed it up either side with soundproofing materials, and then fixed all the latch and handle and locks accordingly, taking consideration the weight of the soundproofing. And we show you exactly how to do that in the online studio course, which you can find a link to in the description down below. Okay, so we've got some electrical on. I'll show you a little video of how loud the ventilation is at the end. A common question I get asked is, oh, how do you do the ventilation? And someone has gone shopping for all different types of decibel rated baffle boxes and all of that. You don't need any of that. These ventilation systems that we build are done with basic materials that you get from the DIY store. So the most complicated bit of it is acoustic ducting. Carpet gone down, and we left some fun sound absorption for our drummer to do. So who wants to see the finished result? Okay, before I play the clip, I must confess I messed up here. I had purchased a new gimbal and I was trying to connect the gimbal to the audio to the phone all at the same time, and it wasn't until after the drive home I looked at the footage and realised that the audio had been completely messed up. So I think it's peaking. See what you think. I'll play the clip. We might get another chance to film, but I wanted to share this video with you now, because I don't know when the next chance is we can film. Okay, so yeah, I think it's peaking. Hopefully we'll get another chance to film. We have filmed the whole installation of this soundproof room from start to finish, showing you how to install resilient bars and battens, and how to install that barrier mat and insulate it, to how to run the ducting and fit those acoustic doors. We've actually got step-by-step videos of how to install those doors, as well as the floating floor and the sound absorption, and on all the other fixtures and fittings that we've shown you in this video. And we've comprised it into a studio course for you DIYers to follow step by step. It's an online course that you can do at your own pace. Any of you on the noise-free DIY soundproofing course or the soundproofing secrets course will know that I like to give a lot of value with my online courses, and that's why we limit the numbers of people that can go on these courses. So just like those courses, there is a waiting list. If you want to join the waiting list for the soundproofing studio course, the link is in the description down below. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm looking forward to reading your comments and questions, and I'll see you on the next video. That is how loud the extractor is. That is how loud the extractor is.